All right, let's talk about a technology that is right now completely reshaping our world. And a lot of the time, we don't even see it happening. It's the brain behind your Netflix recommendations, it's the security guard watching your bank account, and it's the tech that might, one day, literally save your life. We're talking about machine learning. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on.
So let's start with this one big question, because it gets right to the heart of everything. How in the world do you teach a computer to do something really complex, like, say, recognize your face in a photo, when you can't possibly write down every single rule for what a face looks like? Right? That's the exact puzzle that machine learning was created to solve.
And this slide right here is the aha moment. For decades, programming was simple. We gave the computer rules and data, and it spit out an answer. But machine learning flips that entire script. We give the computer the data, and we also give it the answers, the outputs, and we tell it, you figure out the rules. This one change in thinking is the absolute key to understanding everything else. Okay, so to really get this, we have to think of it as a totally new kind of logic. So in our first section, we're going to make that core idea perfectly clear. So here's the official definition. Machine learning is a part of AI where computers learn patterns and make decisions straight from the data itself. The key thing to grab onto here is that it's all about learning, not just following a pre-written list of commands. Which, brings up a pretty obvious question. Why? Why go through all this trouble? Why do we need to invent a whole new way for computers to operate? Well, because some problems are just way too messy and complicated for human-made rules. I mean, just imagine trying to write an if-then rule for every single type of spam email out there. You'd be writing for the rest of your life. Or what about every tiny little thing that affects the stock market? It's impossible. For these kinds of tasks, the system has to learn the super complex, subtle patterns all on its own. So if that's the why, let's get into the how. This is where it gets really interesting. In section 2, we're going to pop the hood and take a look at the machine's actual playbook for how it learns. It's not magic. It's actually more like a recipe for building intelligence. First, you gather your ingredients. That's the raw data. Then you have to do your prep work. You clean it up, you get it organized, you pick your specific recipe, which we call a model. Then comes the baking. You train it, letting it just absorb all that data until it finds the patterns. You do a quick taste test to make sure it's good, and then you serve it up. You deploy it for everyone to use. And Netflix is the perfect example of this recipe in action. They collect data on everything you watch. That's step 1. They clean it up. That's step 2. They've chosen a powerful recommendation model. Step 3. They train it on your viewing history and millions of other people's. Step 4. They test if its predictions are any good. Step 5. And then, bam, they deploy it right to your home screen to suggest your next binge watch. That's step 6. Now, it turns out there are a few different ways to learn. Think of them as 3 main flavors. First, you have supervised learning. This is like learning with a teacher. The data's all labeled. This email is spam, this one isn't. Then there's unsupervised learning. This is more like being a detective. You get a mountain of unlabeled data and have to find the hidden clues and patterns yourself. And finally, you've got reinforcement learning, which is basically learning by trial and error, like how a self-driving car gets little digital rewards for making good decisions on the road. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit for section 3. Because seriously, once you know what you're looking for, you start to realize that machine learning is absolutely everywhere. Take healthcare. We've got ML algorithms that can look at medical scans and spot signs of diseases way earlier and sometimes more accurately than even a trained doctor. We're talking about life-saving stuff here. Or in finance, it's that invisible shield on your bank account. It learns your normal spending habits. And the second a charge comes through that looks weird, it flags it instantly and protects you from fraud. And of course, every single time an online store says, hey, people who bought this also liked this. Yeah, that's machine learning, building a unique, personalized store just for you. In cybersecurity, machine learning is on the digital front lines. It's constantly scanning for new types of attacks and neutralizing them in real time before they can cause any real damage. And honestly, the list just goes on and on. From predicting crop yields for farmers to creating custom lesson plans for students, there is barely an industry out there that isn't being totally transformed by this. So, this is all fascinating, but what does it actually mean for you? Let's get personal here in section 4, your future in machine learning. If any of this has sparked your interest, here's what the toolkit looks like. You'll need some programming, usually Python, A solid handle on math, especially statistics. You've got to be comfortable working with data. And of course, you need to understand the algorithms themselves. These are really the building blocks to get started in the field. And let me tell you, the demand for people with those skills, it is off the charts. We're not just talking about jobs. These are entire high-impact career paths that are shaping what technology will look like for decades to come. And here's why that demand is so crazy high. The AI and machine learning industry as a whole is rocketing towards a valuation in the multi-trillion-dollar range. A number that big means one thing: a massive, sustained wave of innovation and opportunity for a very long time. So if there's one thing to really take away, it's this. Machine learning isn't just another piece of tech, it's the engine. It is the foundational layer that's going to power pretty much every other major tech breakthrough we see on the horizon, from smarter robots to the Internet of Things. And that kind of leaves us with one last really big thought. We're building machines that learn from the world we give them, from the data we create. They're learning to see the world through our lens. So the most important question for our future might not be, what can the machines do, but rather, what are we going to teach them?